There are dozens of countries with drones in their military arsenal. It's estimated that about 90 countries have drones, a list that includes Iran. The Islamic Republic unveiled a new drone on Monday that it says is the biggest one ever developed in the country. It says it can stay in the air for up to 30 hours. The defense minister said the combat drone called Fotros can fly up to 2,000 kilometers. That's enough to get it throughout most of the Middle East. The fact that drones can now be stored in a variety of places is alarming to some, but an international law professor at Howard University, Morris Davis, sees it a bit differently.
As a career member of the military, I'm happy that we're at the forefront of technology. I mean, I always like to be one step ahead of our adversaries. My concern has been with the policy on how we use drones, not with the platform itself, but the policy for how they're used. But the platform itself is just another weapon system, and the drones offer a real advantage, because if you think about the traditional fighter aircraft, a lot of the cost and a lot of the limitations on capabilities are because of the human being in the cockpit. So if you take the human out, you get a lot cheaper aircraft with a lot more capability than the human body can withstand if you put it in the cockpit. So the drone is a logical evolution. There are a lot of good things that it can do, but again, I think we have to really think about the policy for how we use them, because we're not always going to be the only country that's got this capability.
Well, I'd like to get to that in just a second, but I want to talk to you about this last weekend. There was a crash. What does that tell you?
Well, I think it raises some concern about reliability, because this has kind of been sold as a high-tech solution, that it's virtually, you've heard the president talk about drone strikes that we've carried out, the surgical precision and the incredible capability, but it's not without fault. And as we saw this weekend with a drone crashing into a U.S. Navy ship and injuring a couple of personnel, the platform is not without some problems. So I think we need to not be 100% committed and trusting in the technology, but I think it's a technology that's going to continue to evolve.
You brought up the thought of other countries, and it seems like when you read about drones, it's the United States, perhaps the UK,
right.
But there are other countries out there that have drones, and certainly everyone has the capacity or capability to get drones, don't they?
Right. I mean, in its simplest form, you can go online to some of the stores, and for $99, anyone can buy what would be considered a drone. But the big combat platforms, like we've used, in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, other countries are catching up, and we've been the only ones primarily engaged in actually using them in a combat setting, but others will have that capability, and we're setting the precedent for how this technology can be used on the battlefield. And it's a precedent that we ought to be comfortable with others using in the future as they acquire this capability.
Should the United States take the lead in terms of trying to create some type of international consensus on how these should be used moving forward?
I think that would be a great idea. The rules that we apply in combat are still primarily rules that evolved from World War II. And they were great rules when they were written. They've served us well, but time marches on. And they really haven't been updated to accommodate this new change in technology. The X-47B, the current version that is supposed to be operational by 2018 or 2019, is a largely autonomous system. So rather than someone like now sitting with a joystick and looking at a screen and making a decision, the platform itself will be able to make decisions. And who's going to be accountable when the inevitable mistake is made? So we really need to be thinking about those issues. And again, with the world catching up, I think it would be in our interest if we had some international dialogue and agreement on the appropriate parameters for using these types of systems.
Morris Davis, thanks so much.
Sure.